So we're back with the D22 solid axle swap, and I've got a couple of pieces here for welding along the chassis. So this is just an inner brace to go between the chassis so it doesn't bend in, and we're going to wrap a bit of chain with a chain ratchet around the chassis so it doesn't bend outwards, and that'll just mean that we can go along with the welder. Still be careful about how much heat we put in, but this will just help out with the bowing of the chassis. Alrighty guys, so we've got the driver's side all the way tacked in. This one was a little bit more of a pain, which I wasn't really expecting because usually it's the first one that you get wrong. But I actually just got a little bit too excited and didn't line this up properly before I started tacking. So then I had to go through, cut it all out and re-tack it while it was a little bit bent and stuff. So it's way easier to just get it right the first time. Take that little bit extra time to double check everything, compare it with the other side so that you know they're exactly the same. Helps to have a really good F-clamp. I was using these little ones here, and while they did the job on the first one, they don't have enough sort of oomph to get through and bend it back into place, so you need something with one of these little handles on it to give you that extra grip to get it nice and tight. So we are test fitting our brackets here. We're holding them in with bolts, and Matt was nice enough that in his design he's cut out these holes for us to place bolts through, and it will align it. And I'm just going around with a marker now just so I know that where the bracket is sitting so I can go through and clean it up. So we're just taking off any grit, dirt, mud. I fish oiled my chassis, so it means that a lot of stuff sticks to it, and we're just grinding all that back and cleaning it. And we're just going to coat it with a little bit of paint just to stop everything from rusting, keep it clean. It doesn't really hurt to go over any areas that we're not working on with paint anyway. It's just a little bit of primer. Hey guys, so you can see that something rocked up today, which is pretty sweet. They look tops, so I'll get them out for you. So this is the front suspension for the Navara. So as you can see, these are a Radflo coilover without the coils on it. So later on down the track I'll get coilovers because I need to find out what weight I want them for. So this is a 12-inch coilover, so it's got 12 inches of travel, and it's a 2.0 with a 7/8 shaft. They look just terrific. This is probably the most I've spent on suspension ever, and it's only for the front, which is pretty sweet, but this should have it riding just terrific. So these are going to go in a little bit down the track once I actually have some mounts in place, but for now we're just going to stare at them and keep them shiny. Alrighty guys, so we're under the Navara again, continuing with these. So I actually had these radius arm brackets welded in, just tacked in, and I wasn't quite happy with where I had them, so I've cut them back out. I've spoken to Matt and just double checked that I've got everything right. So he said that as long as these are pulled in tight to the chassis, that's about as aligned as you need them when they're pointing forward. It should be bang on. He's got a jig made up for these, so as long as they're tight up along this edge to the chassis, and you've got a vise on there pulling them in tight, that's right. So on the front side of this mount, to locate it, we've got 2 bolt holes, and on the front side I've got an M14, on the back side I've got an M12, and that's the biggest that will fit through the gearbox mounts. You can't really fit an M14 through the back one. You're pretty well threading them both into the gearbox mount, and that will basically align this mount to where it needs to sit. and then you pull it in tight with the F-clamp, and as you can see, it's pretty spot on. So there's a little half moon there, or like a, you know, it's got a circular cutout there that you just line up with this hole. Same thing on the the chassis laminate. You just sort of line up the holes that are already in the body, which is great because, you know, for all of us guys with the Navaras, we're all going to have the same holes here already. So it makes it really easy to put this stuff in. I've also checked a couple different angles on it using this little digital angle finder. So I've got 2 degrees on the chassis, and then if you come down onto here, we've got just about 3 degrees. So it's only 1 degree out, which I spoke to Matt and he said that's, you know, that's within reason there. So he said, go ahead, tack it in. I'm not going to fully weld until I've got everything in place, and I know that it's spot on, because I've already had to pull some tacks off and you know, double check my own work. So we're going to tack this in, we're going to go over to the other side, and we're going to use the clamp to pull it in tight and make sure it's all spot on. Alrighty guys, so now we're on to the passenger side radius arm mount, and you can see I've got the bracket up there, the 2 bolts are in, they're not wound all the way tight. You can see there's a little bit of gap in there to give us a little bit of wiggle, and I'm going to come around the other side and show you what I'm doing. So we've got the digital angle finder on the side of this radius arm mount, and you can see that it says 2.16 degrees, so we'll call it about 2 degrees, and the bubble is on the right, which means that it's leaning this way. So for us to fix it, we need to tilt the radius arm mount this way. And just for reference, the chassis is reading about 0.7 of a degree that way. So for us to fix this, we want to tilt it a little bit up, get it around within a degree. So I've got the clamp holding it up, and this one here is just going to pull it up on that angle. So we're at 2.1. 1.7. Alrighty guys, so bracket is on. Have a look. 0.13. Yeah, about 1 degree to the other side, but I will say that the chassis is sort of, you know, you can measure it from different places and it'll tell you different things. So that's telling me it's on the other side now. So if I measure from this side, or this spot here, oh look at that, half degree that way, which means that this is now, whoa, 1 degree out. It's kind of hard to measure, but I think that really, you know, it's pretty close. So we've got our radius arm brackets tacked in, so that means that we can now start positioning a couple different things. So I'm going to put my radius arms in, and I'm going to slide the diff underneath the car. I also have to put the car at ride height, so then when I position the things, they're you know, all in position for when it would be at ride height. So we're going to put the diff under there, but before I do that, I also want to strip it so it's lighter to work with, and I'm not going to fry different things in there with welding it, and it'll also get it ready for rebuilding it. So we're going to start stripping the diff. Go. Alrighty guys, so I've done quite a bit of cleaning up around here and we've whacked the diff under there, we've put our radius arms in just for mock up, and then on the other side I pulled out one of my coilovers, or they're just shockies at the moment, they've got no coils, and that's sort of what it's going to look like. Obviously the diff won't be that low to the ground at this ride height because you've got to remember that the wheels are going to pick the diff up off the ground, so it'll be a good, I'd say 8 inches above where it is at the moment. So that shock will be, you know, another 8 inches up. So that just goes to show how much travel we're going to have. That's enormous, and it also shows how high the coil towers are going to have to be. But that looks pretty flash. I'm so keen to get some more time on this because it's really starting to come together. So way back before I ever did anything to this nav, I took some measurements and I found that to the bottom of this guard was about 850 mil from the ground. So where I've set it now, it's about 100 mil from the ground. So that gives us 6 inches of lift, and that's including the body lift, which will keep us within legality. So that'll account for 2 inch of tyre, 2 inch of suspension, and then the 2 inch of body lift, which gives us that 150 number. So from what I understand, if it stays at this height of 100 mil to the bottom of this guard, I haven't lifted it more than 6 inches, which means that it's still legal. If you were to go over that, I think you have to go through quite a few extra hoops to try and get it engineered, which isn't what we want to do. I'm not trying to get this car to be enormously high. When I opted for the longer coilovers, I was doing that because I want extra drop when it flexes, not extra ride height. Alrighty guys, so we're going to cut the episode here. We've got a fair bit done. I'm hoping next episode that we're going to get into putting some brackets on the diff, maybe even putting in the coil towers, or we might look at doing some steering links. So, you know, pan hard mount, maybe put the steering box in. I don't actually have the steering arms, I've only got the stock drag link, so we'll have to look at what I'm going to do about them. I hope you guys are still enjoying this. I'm trying to get these videos out, but it's really time consuming stuff, and I'm also splitting my time across a couple of projects. So that's sort of